You know, most Americans have never run a business. The number of people in this country who are entrepreneurs who have started businesses is fairly small. I mean, it's substantial compared to countries that don't allow that sort of thing, but you know, it's not a lot of people. So most people never having run a business don't understand how the corporate income tax works. The corporate income tax is very straightforward. At the end of the year, you say, okay, this year we brought in, you know, $100,000 in revenue, and we had $70,000 in expenses that, you know, that we paid to salaries or to expenses or what, you know, that are all tax deductible. And so what's left over, and it's basically, for a small business, is literally what's left over in your checking account at the end of the year. We're sitting here with $30,000 sitting in the checking account, and we don't want to pay taxes on it. So what do? We buy a new computer, or we lease a vehicle. You know, we raise our expenses in a way, or we invest in the company, or we develop a new product, or we hire a marketing firm and we start doing advertising or promotion. These are all things that are entirely tax deductible. What's going on right now with this super low tax rate is that businesses are engaged in activity that is taxable. In other words, shoveling money to their CEOs. There's a tax consequence to that to companies over, you know, after the first million, as I recall. And paying dividends. You know, this is taxable activity as well. But because the tax rate is so low, much of the profits that companies, in particular big companies, have, if they can't stash it overseas, offshore, which is something that the Biden administration is talking about, you know, tightening up that loophole so they can't get away with that anymore. But if they can't do that, what they do is they just take that, because it's a very low tax rate. Hey, you know, we'll pay the 5 or 10 or 15%, you know, with a 21% top tax rate right now. The effective rate drops dramatically because of all the loopholes and things. So yeah, we'll pay a little bit of tax on that money, but you know, it'll allow us to take the money out of the business. You raise that corporate tax rate up to, say, 50%, where it was from the 1940s to the 1980s, or even 35%, where Reagan said it, and it stayed until just a few years ago. You raise it up into that range, 35 to 50%, and at that point, companies say at the end of the year, you know, if we just shovel all this money out as dividends and CEO pay, we're going to have to pay a fairly big tax bill. We don't want to do that. So let's instead, you know, support the local Little League and build parks around our factory or our warehouse or our business to benefit the local community. It's tax deductible. Or let's invest in advertising or marketing, or let's develop a new product. Joe Manchin is going through this whole thing about how, you know, I'm not going to support increasing corporate taxes beyond 25%. And, you know, I get that there's politics here, and I get that West Virginia is kind of a very, well, not kind of, it's a very red state. He's got to deal with, he's got to answer to the people who put him in Congress. I get all that. This is not any kind of personal knock on Joe Manchin. But the point is that the economics of this, if you actually want businesses to invest in West Virginia, if you want businesses that are currently in West Virginia to grow their businesses and hire new people, then raise the corporate taxes. It's very, very straightforward.